Hey everyone, I'm Zain. This is Auto Group, and this is the 2018 Lexus IS350 F Sport. It's finished in red line metallic on the outside, and this car has 306 horsepower. It's a naturally aspirated V6, which is what Lexus does the best. And it has an excellent Chateau Nulux interior. And I say Nulux because in the F Sport trim, they don't give leather in the interior for the seating. But for Lexus, the best thing about their interior is you can almost not tell the difference between the leather and the Nulux, and they're for sure the best in the business in terms of the texture. And it is perforated seats, obviously, and you got a black dashboard, perforated steering wheel with the F badge at the bottom. What else? The 277 pound-feet of torque in this car comes on very strong. When we were coming over here, it felt very fast, and it was very tied down to the ground. Here's the thing. Consumer Reports gave this car a road test of 56. 56! That's almost 20 less than the 3 Series and the C300, which are the class leading in this segment, the small sports sedan / luxury sedan segment. But when we were coming down here, that was not the case. What is mistaken by many is the fact that this car is more performance-based rather than luxury-based. Those cars have the duality between luxury and performance. This car does too, but it's more biased towards that grippy, tied-down feel on the road, vibration from the engine, sound of the engine, and it had a great ride quality when we came over here. We found no problems in the way this car drove. That idle, you can hear like the car vibrates a lot on the outside and on the inside, and I really like that because I'm always one for the tighter and more loud experience inside the car. The thing is, people love the Sport Direct Shift 8-speed transmission the Lexus has, but the all-wheel drive one doesn't have that. It has the 6-speed one, which is pretty interesting. We didn't really find any problems with it when we were coming over here, so it's not a big deal. But let's go on to the interior. So, as you can see, this is one awesome place to be in. The steering is an electric power assist steering wheel. It has a couple plastic buttons, but for the price point, this is not a problem. My favorite car currently in this car segment, in this small side sports / luxury sedan segment, is the C300 because of that beautiful interior and all those things. That's more focused towards luxury. This car is focused towards a mix of both, but the way it focuses on performance more is awesome. Look at these big paddle shifters, you know, perforated steering wheel, F Sport. When you get the F Sport, you get the tighter suspension and Sport Plus for your extra mode for throttle response, steering, all that stuff for tightening the suspension. So the modes are Eco, normal, and you can customize the normal this time. Wow, that's actually really cool. I just noticed that. There's also Sport S and Sport S Plus. So here's the cool gauge cluster that it has, where in normal it's like this, very clean black, you know. Then Eco, it just says Eco a little bit. Then you go to Sport and it goes white. The Sport Plus is also the same tachometer, but it just says S Plus. And then in the middle, what they did now is they upgraded the screen size, the infotainment screen size, to 10.1 inches. That's a significant upgrade. Like, these parts were totally cut off in the old one. It was a very small screen. Beautiful analog clock in the middle here. A lot of people really complain for some reason about the dashboard's layout. You know how it's all different pieces and it's not exactly a flowing piece like the C300 or that old conservative look of the 3 Series interior. But I personally think this interior looks fantastic. Hands-on. This is the best job done in its class in terms of performance-based interior. The C300 has a very good interior as well. It's more luxury focused. That's why I really like it. And then, of course, you got your moonroof. This is the fully loaded car. It has Mark Levinson also. You can play your CDs. Everything is there. And, of course, thank God, these beautiful volume knobs to turn on and off the audio over here and then scroll. And then for the temperature control, you can either tap it once and it's touch, or you could slide your hand on it, like you slide your finger on it and it does it fast. That's so cool. Look how awesome that looks. And then here's the controversial joystick right here in the middle. Now they replaced this like for the LC500 and the NX and future the Lexus vehicles, I think, the trackpad, but over here it is the classic one, the joystick type thing, and I think it moves around great. There's not a problem with the way this thing works. And the little way to get it to work better for you, the one that we figured out, is the haptic feedback sensitivity bar, which is, thank God it's there, because if you want to make it tighter and easier to use, if you're not very fond of the light feel that this mouse has, the cursor, then you can put it up to make the resistance sharper, and then it takes effort to move it through the joystick, which is really, really cool. This one has the heated steering wheel because it's leather, so there's not a problem doing that. You know, in wood steering wheels, it's usually not an option in cars. You got these really nice vents for climate control. The thing is, this is where the competition kind of beats out this car in terms of fit and finish, and some places, whereas this car, like for example, doesn't have stitching even in the highest one, no stitching up here, and then the cup holder is kind of like this plasticky type material. So those are the problems that this car has really in terms of the material you use, but that really does not matter when it comes down to the driving feel and experience. So for the gear shifter, it's really cool the way it moves. It's like very soft, and it's like it doesn't take any effort, just go on and off, and it's not a very stiff one. I'm not usually a fan of these ones where it's like, because of the safety, it's that zigzaggy type of pattern, but it moves very fluid in this one. This is very nicely placed. I really like this. Where the padding comes, your knee almost lands perfectly on it. But over here there is a bit of fake this plastic that has a matte chrome type look on it. There is not really that much plastic used in terms of where you touch, but some places obviously there is. Alright, so for the dashboard, I mean, some places are a little hard touch, but the rest is pretty soft that you could press into it. And I'm just loving that screen. That's very nice. And over here you got some padding, and you could like really press into it. It's very nicely coated. What else? The aluminum trims, these are not real aluminum, so it's kind of just like a faux aluminum type look. It could be, I'm not really sure because of the weather. Right now it's already really cold, or else if it was like a summer day, you could still feel the aluminum to feel if it's real or not if it's cold. So now let's take a look at how I fit in the back seat. This is set to my dad's position. He's 6'2", I'm 6'2", so let's go and take a look. Yeah, so immediately, it's kind of hard. This is a new car too, so I don't want to get my wet rainy day shoes all over it. But once okay. Yeah, it's kind of hard to get in. Once you're in, I mean, the seats are small and tightly bolstered, so I can put my knees kind of around them a little bit, which is not that bad. And I mean, it's kind of cozy in here. I have a little bit of headroom, which is surprising, and leg room is very minuscule. But for the armrest and amenities in the back, you got the cup holders over here. Alright, and you can put your cup holders there, and of course it's leather padded and everything. Nice. You got your lights over here, and then the dashboard is so close. You can literally just look at it from here. You don't have to reach forward for anything really. I mean, you can even change the drive mode from back here, which is funny. But yeah, and there's a speaker over here. This is the Mark Levinson sound system, so 2 speakers on each door in the back, and I think it's the same for the front. Yeah, that's pretty much it for the back seat. And again, this new Lux, I don't see why Lexus didn't give you leather, considering this is the highest trim level. This is the F Sport 350 all-wheel drive. Everything is $50,000+ plus tax and everything. So still, I mean, this is very nice because it doesn't really, you can't really tell at all. If I just sit someone in here and ask them what this material is, they're gonna go leather, right? Most of the time, because unless you're really someone who's like, oh, this is new Lux or something, like me or any other big car enthusiast, then you would figure it out, or else it's perfect. And the headliner is this kind of Alcantara type material. They didn't go cheap with any, you know, a fabric or cloth, although there's nothing really wrong with that. But for this price point, it's really important to have the best materials you possibly can in the car wherever you touch. And that's it for the back seat. So in terms of overall like fitting inside the car, if you're a tall guy, maybe in the interior you feel a little cramped. I mean, the competitors definitely have a little bit more open interior, depending also on the seats. Now this has very tightly bolstered, you know, performance seats. So I remember it was pretty funny. A couple years ago, I was trying to get out of one of these inside the showroom, and while I was pulling myself out, I accidentally honked the horn. It's very, very tight in here. As you get comfortable with the steering wheel and everything in your hand, it gets harder and harder to get out. So that's pretty funny. But let's check out the trunk in terms of practicality. Alright, so the getting stuff in, the height is kind of low, but it does go in decently. And I mean, you do have splitting rear seats. You can definitely put them down 60-40, which is pretty nice. But I mean, usually in this car already there's little space in the cabin, so maybe that the 60-40 split won't really help you that much. But in terms of like the whole look of this car and the performance, this looks more sporty than both of the main cars in the competition, the 3 Series and the C Class. I mean, look at it. It's got this weird angle at the front where it's like coming out from here. Very aggressive stance. It's low to the ground. Literally, if I'm standing next to it, it's so low. So the cool party trick about this car is that you can move the speedometer. It's a half analog, half digital type setup. So the ring is a physical ring, and you can go between your things for audio, your directions. And this car also has lane keep assist, and it has radar cruise control, and the blind spot monitoring, which is really cool. So it's a very cool car. But the whole speedometer and the tachometer in the back, I mean, is all digital. So when you move it over, look, it just slides over, and then you could use your menu to do things, which is really, really awesome. So yeah, that's pretty cool. Alright, so setting off in the IS350 F Sport all-wheel drive. It's a rainy day today, and this is what that all-wheel drive comes in to play. Thank God this car is offered with an all-wheel drive system, because a lot of performance cars these days, with like even a little bit of performance, like the GS200T for example, is a rear-wheel drive one. And listen to that engine. It's 40 miles per hour already. 0 body roll. Pickup is fantastic. And this interior is very comfortable. Like, I mean, if you should choose sitting in the front over sitting in the back, obviously. Like, even if you're the passenger who wants to enjoy maybe a very comforting back seat ride, no, just focus on the front seat, because there's a lot of room, and everything is very nice and collective towards you. And the sound is fantastic, and that was a normal mode too. And the awesome thing about this car is that the tachometer turns orange right at, it's like an indication for you to shift at around like 5,000 or 4,500 RPM. This car redlines at about 6,500 RPM, maybe a little bit more, a little bit less, but it's somewhere in that range. Mostly where all the V6s are in terms of power. And this car has heated and cooled seats, which is awesome. Or I should say heated and ventilated seats. And even though this car is all-wheel drive, it has a couple funny options which are really awesome. It has a snow mode. I mean, you probably won't need that, but they have it there. It starts usually, I think, at 2nd gear, so you don't slip off the line. That's very important for Lexus's performance models, so it's in there. Then the traction control system is also pretty funny, because this car being all-wheel drive, I mean, you're not really gonna have that much fun without traction control. But in terms of power at high speeds, it should be delivered faster, because when traction control is off, it doesn't rob your power anymore. And in turns, like, there's such a minimalistic amount of body roll that it's basically not even there. And you don't feel the suspension move around in turns a lot either. And I just love these climate control. You scroll it down and up, which is awesome. And you got your dual zone climate control. You got all the classic buttons, you know, which is awesome. You got your little glove compartment here also, which opens up. It's very nice. It's a double shelf, and yeah, it's nice in there. Also got good storage, a little bit of like for coins over here, and a big one for bottles and stuff down there, which is really nice. And on these back roads, it's so tied to the ground, and it almost feels like it's gonna take off, like at the when you get to a hilly type of situation, because it's stuck to the road, but the suspension like gives a little bit of comfort in there, so it feels very weird, like it's just about to take off. Then the clock lights up, which is cool. And since the steering wheel is EPS, it does have a lot of response because, you know, obviously it's rack and pinion. But the way it gets sensitive is at low speeds, just like the LC500, the GSF, the GS200T, it gets lighter, so you have ease in parking. And then as you get to a higher speed, it gets tighter and harder and heavier, so you don't get an overly assisted steering wheel at high speeds. What's awesome about this car is, especially if you get it in black, everything at nighttime looks so dark and just like deep in there. It looks like all these controls are shining from something like behind glass, like everything. Alright, now it's in manual mode. Alright, so paddle shift delay. Oof. This car is so loud. Here's the funny thing. I mean, Lexus makes so many V6s and they're all majority 3.5 liters. But wow, like this car's sound is really something. Wow. Oof. My God, the sound and the revs it pulls are so good. And I don't think there's any sound coming in. And the car is just planted to the ground. It's literally sitting there, and amongst all these other cars, you just go in and out of the lanes. And you don't really have to think twice about making a safe lane change. And in case things get sticky, you know, things get tough in terms of lane changes because there's someone behind you, they're going at the same speed, you can't make a lane change, you got blind spot monitoring, lane keep assist is also there. And since this is the all-wheel drive version, there is no 8-speed anymore. That shifted a little bit faster, I think, but this one is just as fast anyways. I mean, you really can't tell the big difference, but I just felt that the 8-speed was a little better suited for this car. You can get that in the rear wheel one, but in the all-wheel drive one, that's not an option. Wow, and the brakes are very good too. Like, you just get gripped, and the car ride isn't jerky at all. And the sound is crazy. This sounds like the GSF, honestly. Wow, maybe they changed something for the 18 model year. We tested the 16 model year. I think it was the 17 one. We tested it last year, and it was just not like this car. Like, we drove the 340i and IS350 back to back that day, and we preferred the 340i for sure. But now it's like, wow, this is crazy. The way this car goes and the sound, it sounds deep and loud. It's crazy. What I love about this car is that it's kind of one of those opposite situations. Usually when you're in a performance car, like when we were in the GSF, we were like, oh, we're having so much fun, let's go faster. Then you would break the speed limit like nothing. But in this car, the power comes on slowly in a weird way where you think you're going so fast, and maybe because it's so lightweight, but you're not actually going crazy fast. So you can enjoy this a lot, like on the street. This is like a 4-door Miata. Beautiful stance and everything, right? I mean, this is a fantastic car. So yeah, again, thank you so much to Art Cool and Regrets Lexus of Westmont for providing this vehicle. This car, I don't even have to tell you the miles because it's a brand new one. It's tight, it's not even broken. And that was here's the fun fact. this car, when we were going on the highway and you heard that and everything, this was with the AC on, which is fantastic out on the open road. So it was a very fun car. Thank God. This car has all the safety features, beautiful, shapely design, front to back, excellent car. And my final message would be to Art Cool, save one for me, because I really, really enjoyed this car for sure. Which is fantastic, you know. Which is fantastic. Which is fantastic. Which is fantastic. Sore throat.